Hey guys, before we get this video started, I just wanted to apologize for the lack of filler footage. I know that it gets a little bit boring looking at the same screen, for a long period of time throughout a video, especially something that can be as mundane as the 8.0 survival guide that I'm putting out with this. So if you can just bear with me, there's a whole lot of helpful information within this video that might make it worth sticking around. Thanks guys. Hey guys, what's going on? This is John Base, and I'm here to reel you in with another Warcraft discussion video. Today, we're gonna look over 8.0 and my survival tips on how to make it through this patch. First off, we're gonna talk about the artifact transmog system. There's gonna be a bit of a user interface change. I mean, it's different and at the same time not. It's going to be almost unnoticeable unless you have a really serious liking of the way your artifact weapon looks, because if you want to keep those appearances, you're going to be in a lot of luck. These artifact appearances are no longer spec restricted or weapon type restricted, allowing much greater customization of your character's appearance regardless of the weapon type that you have equipped. Let's look into a little bit of the upcoming content that's going to be released with this pre-patch. First of all, based on the burning of Teldrassil and Battle for Lordaeron scenarios that we're going to have coming out, it seems as though Sylvanas has a deep need to want to control Kalimdor entirely to control the majority of Azerite flow. And I mean, even more into it, I have a feeling that Saurfang is kind of iffy on his morals as well. I mean, it doesn't seem fair to just completely blame Sylvanas for the morally gray outcomings of the Horde when she's not being disputed in any way. I mean, it's been made really clear that she doesn't have a feeling of emotion or anything of the sort. So it's harder for her, at least I feel as though it's harder for her to understand when she's kind of overstepping bounds that she shouldn't be crossing. I mean, during these scenarios, all she has to do is tell Saurfang that she wants to control Teldrassil for the majority of Azerite flow. And then they will go and march onto that city and burn and kill all the civilians in the area. I mean, there's a chunk of the quest where you're running with the assassin buddy on the Horde side during the burning of Teldrassil, and you come across a guy sleeping, and the assassin asks you if you want to wake them up and kill them with honor, or if you want to kill them in their sleep. Well, I mean, even if you click on killing them in their sleep option, which, granted, I did click. I mean, I have to admit, I had to see what happened. Your assassin buddy even gets pretty pissed at you and tells you that wasn't okay and tells you off. I mean, there's quite a bit of morally gray quest lines going on. I mean, I also feel as though there's some questionable things at works with this, because it's been noted by a whole large chunk of the community that there's disconnects between the two quest lines between the Horde and Alliance for the burning of Teldrassil. It feels as though maybe there's an outside force manipulating each other side's view of it to push them in the direction of hating the other one. Because, I mean, the burning of Astranaar wasn't even entirely Horde's fault, or at least all of it wasn't Horde's fault. The burning of Teldrassil itself, which I also discussed in my Gallywix video, which I'll link in the description down below, that maybe these morally gray things that the Horde and Alliance are supposedly both going to pull aren't the Horde and Alliance themselves, but someone manipulating an outsider's view. Now, we're gonna step out of speculation and take a look back into more of the facts of what's going to go down with this pre-patch. First of all, let's look at the stat squish. This stat squish is going to be pretty severe. I mean, we're going to be getting knocked back down more toward Wrath numbers, at least before we start leveling up through the Battle for Azeroth content. We hit to level 120, we start getting Azerite gear, and we start really ramping up those stats. We're going to be doing under like 10 to 15k DPS on average, and it's going to feel kind of funky to play our classes, because you see, all of our artifact weapons are going to be disabled during this. We're going to have the power drained out of the artifact weapons, and all of our artifact traits are going to be disabled, and it's going to bring in the new playstyle of Battle for Azeroth, global cooldown changes and all. So it's going to feel a little funky, but don't fear, because we don't really know how it's going to play out in its entirety and in its final form until we finish our way through the Battle for Azeroth questing campaign and get up with that Azerite gear and stuff, get ourselves caught up. Let's take a little look at War Mode. War Mode, I feel like, should offer a rather deep enrichment of player-generated content, such as systems like the faction Assassins, or after killing 10 players in a row, the opposite faction labels you on their map as a Horde or Alliance assassin, giving them a goal to hunt you down. Because, I mean, in a way, that could almost lead to, like, the vanilla PvP. I don't know, it was almost a rampage. Like, when you became a notorious ganker on your server, like, I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a famous Horde rogue that was on my server back in the day that people would hunt him down because it was like, it was a personal victory to them to kill this notorious PvP master and ganker who just wants to ruin everybody else's day. They would take that and group up together, and that would even be another way of increasing world community. I feel like that's going to bring a lot of warmth back into the, like, open world community of Azeroth, instead of, like, instance communities, like the actual community tab, you know, guild functions and stuff like that. It really feels separate and cold today. I feel like Battle for Azeroth is going to bring in some systems that make a large difference into that. Lastly, let's talk about some of the class changes that we have on the horizon. And it seems as though a select few classes have slipped through the cracks of Blizzard's time gate to this expansion launch and just had to roll with the punches. I mean, Balanced Druid finally got a little bit of the rework that it needed. It seems like it's going to work out. Shaman is a little bit left in the dirt. However, there's all kinds of class changes that ended up really well. Fury Warrior, for example, is almost going to be not much of a difference from the playstyle that we got used to with Legion. I mean, they took Raging Blow out of the necessity to be enraged, and they gave it 2 charges just with a short cooldown, which is going to add a whole bunch of flavor into your general rotation. I mean, I think these are really, really good changes, and frankly, kudos to Blizzard, in my opinion, for taking this step to bring the game back a little bit more toward what it was in its former glory days, when it was slower, when it was more reaction time and decision based versus the way that it's become, I don't know, I guess macroed. Macroed is the way I would put it, because we use one-shot macros far too frequently today. I mean, what Fury Warrior doesn't have his cooldowns all macroed out to just mash as fast as he can and leap right into his rotation so that he can hit the highest amount of burst DPS single target or AoE every single pull no matter what. I mean, min-maxing is a big thing today. Maybe Blizzard's trying to bring it back to where it's going to be a little bit more difficult to min-max, and I don't know, maybe make it a little more classic feeling. Alright guys, to wrap things up, this is my very first pre-patch survival guide, and I hope all this information comes in handy to you guys at one point or another during your endeavors into the Battle for Azeroth free content. If you like this video, leave a like. If you support what I'm all about, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter for instant channel updates and polls on what the next video will be about. Don't forget that I'll be on stream with SoulSoBreezy at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, June 27th, streamed on his channel. The link will be in the description down below. And before I forget, most important of all, leave a comment down below with all your thoughts and opinions on what I have to say. Community's everything to me, guys. And as always, good luck and be safe. Thanks for watching.